Good evening to all of you, my dear friends, and welcome Sister Miriam and dear Molly, with none other than the dear Sister Sue, nicely tucked up in her bed, enjoying some me time. Bless you. Well, I welcome those who've not logged in, and tonight it's part 15. Can you believe that? Part 15 of the Christian Mystics. And it's number 5 in the series of Thomas Aquinas, the great Thomas Aquinas, the Dominican theologian who shares so much beauty for the soul. But before we begin, let us just relax. Let us come to our heart and let us allow Spirit touch us and fill us with the peace, the wonder, the beauty of God. Be still. Be still. Be still and know that the Spirit of Thomas Aquinas is with us, guiding us, speaking to our heart. But before that, I would like to share with you the opening prayer from none other than the great Teresa of Avila. So in the silence of your hearts, just sit, be still, and you may like to say this beautiful prayer after me. I cross the bridge into the silent bliss of my castle. I close the drawbridge and forbid all outside influences from entry into this holy place. My soul, here in my castle, I am alone with God, and under God's light and companionship, I discovered the depths and the beauty of my soul. I embrace the power of prayer. I open myself to divine guidance. I surrender myself to become as a channel for grace, healing, and service as God directs my life. Let us just reflect on those words. For those words say it all, don't they? That if we come to the Father, Mother, God, the I Am presence within us, then we don't bring our mobile phones, our iPads and iPhones with us, do we? No, we switch off all electrical devices. We even put a do not disturb sign on our door so that we have me time with the Father, Mother, God. And that's not easy today, is it? Where so many drain us of distractions, activities, where we're expected to be here, there, and everywhere, even multitask. And in the end, the spiral is downward, and it affects our health, mind, body, and spirit. And I know that from my own experience, we can only do so much and then hand the rest over to God. So let's get on with part 15. The beauty of the artwork proceeds from the beauty of the artist. When one thing makes and another is made, the making stands between them. Thomas Aquinas. And I know Sister Miriam down under, this will resonate with her because as an artist, she will understand those words. But Matthew says, art does not come from no place. It comes from the artist. In some way, therefore, the beauty of the artist is present in the art. The beauty of the art reflects the beauty of the artist. Furthermore, this profound relationship between the maker and the thing made, the process that stands between them and connects them, is like another being that's being born. The relationship itself, the making. When you consider the making of the things you've created, does a third thing, namely the making, stand between you? Do you honor that new relationship? If so, how do you do that? A good point. And Thomas says, although a created being tends to the divine likeness in many ways, this one whereby it seeks the divine likeness by being the cause of others takes the ultimate place. We are God's co-workers. We are God's co-workers. Isn't that beautiful? We are God's co-workers. And Matthew says this, the ultimate expression of the divine likeness in us is our capacity for causing others. Maybe this is why the works we give birth to, our children and our grandchildren, but also our books and our rituals, our buildings and our businesses, our ships and our airplanes, our pyramids and our work for social justice, all outlive us. As the cause of others, we live far beyond our years. Hopefully, we cause others some joy and some meaning long after we are gone, and our personal acquaintanceship has expired. And Thomas says, it is a great thing to do miracles, but it is a greater thing to live virtuously. Let me read that again. It is a great thing to do miracles, but it is a greater thing to live virtuously. And Matthew says, some people long for and put their faith in miracles, which they define as sudden cures or dynamic healings, happenings that seem to defy nature's process. They like to build their religious beliefs around such events. Aquinas was not one of these people. He believed that to live virtuously is the greatest miracle of all. Now, isn't that something? He believed that to live virtuously is the greatest miracle of all. The word miracle comes from the Latin word for to wonder. But what is truly wondrous and amazing is to live a life of justice, of compassion, of integrity, or to strive to do so. Are we creating such a miracle? Is our culture? And Thomas says, a praiseworthy person is angry about the right things, at the right people, and in due moderation, since they are angry as they should be, when they should be, and as long as they should be. And Matthew says, many Christians and others go through life in a passive, aggressive mode, holding their anger in because they are taught that anger is the work of the devil, or at least a capital sin. Aquinas does not teach this. He believes anger has its place. He says that nothing great happens without anger. Anger is a source of strength and perseverance. It keeps us going through rough times. The key is that we not let anger run our lives, that we find proper outlets for it, that are non-violent, that we let it go in due time, and that the right things get us angry, such as injustice. But Thomas says people who are bitter retain their anger for a long time. That is so true. People who are bitter retain their anger for a long time. Have you found that? Matthew says, do you know people running on bitterness? I know many. I've met many in my life as a nursing monk, as a nurse, and now as a retired, committed contemplative monk. I meet people who come here who are so bitter and resentful. It's like a cancer. It is so distressing for them, but they can't see it. They haven't got a problem. It's usually you or me that has the problem. Anyway, Matthew says, do you know people running on bitterness? Well, we do. Do you house some bitterness yourself? Life gives us plenty of reasons to be bitter. But in this observation, Aquinas gets to the heart of bitterness so that you and I can be freed from it. The heart of bitterness comes from sitting on our anger. He proposes and sitting on it for a long time. Healthy outlets for anger will cleanse us of our bitterness. Finding creative outlets for our anger helps in this process. But we must acknowledge our anger and respect it if we are to let it go. Now, they are wise words. They are so wise. But Thomas says those who are in great fear are so intent on their own passion that they pay no attention to the sufferings of others. Oh gosh, that's hitting me between the eyes. Those who are in great fear are so intent on their own passion that they pay no attention to the sufferings of others. Have you found that? I have. But Matthew Fox says, fear is a great passion. It can take over our souls. That is why Aquinas warns us that to build our lives on fear is to banish compassion. Our fear can swallow our care of others. It runs our lives, and it ruins our potential for making community, for building friendships, and exercising love. If fear is the opposite of love, it is also the slayer of love and compassion. Beware of fear. Develop a prayer life that stands up to fear and keeps fear outside the door of our hearts. You and I will know plenty of people who we've met in our journey where fear rules their very existence. It's a cancer of the soul. It blocks the divine connecting with us. And you wonder why they live such fear-driven lives, why they're so deeply restless and unhappy. And Thomas says nothing should be feared, not human beings, and not any other thing. Perfect love drives out servile fear, which is fear that expects punishment before everything else. Christ had no servile fear. And Matthew says, psychologist Jerry Jampolsky teaches that fear is the opposite of love. And in 1 John 4 verse 18, and Aquinas offers a similar teaching, urging people to live without fear. And this includes religious people. Living our lives without fear is living a Christ-like life. If fear is the opposite of love, and Christ taught love, then clearly a life of fear is not a Christ-like life. How much does fear play a role in our lives, individually or collectively? Do our religions preach a servile fear of God? Is that not the opposite of preaching love? Do politicians and the media exploit fear? Is that not the opposite of building community? Courage, having a heart that recognizes fear but does not allow it to take over one's soul, is one of the surest signs of a truly spiritual person. Let's just stop there for a moment and reflect on what is being shared. The Nazarene Essenes were really people of fear. They lived by fear. Everything had fear attached to it. And though Jesus was a Nazarene Essene, he broke away from that and he embraced love. And from that love, Magdalena and St. John established the Johannine Essenes, the community of love on Mount Carmel. They do say that the Catholic Church is represented very much in the philosophies of the Nazarene Essenes, head thinkers. But the Johannine Essenes were the heart feelers, drew many into the nursing profession, not into the academic world. So you see, fear is counterproductive. And as we say in morning and evening prayer, if fear is at the root cause of our living and denying us love, we name it, we shame it, we bless it, we release it to God in love. Wow. And Thomas says, magnanimity is the expansion of the soul to do great things. Magnanimous people put themselves in all kinds of danger for great things. For instance, the common welfare, justice, divine worship, and so forth. Who can you think of that was magnanimous who did just that? Well, I can name a few: Martin Luther King, Gandhi, Jesus, Mother Teresa of Calcutta, Brother Roger who founded Teze, and the great Franciscan saint. Oh, I can't think of his name, but he was in Auschwitz and gave his life to spare a Jewish man who was the father of a large family. Oh, I feel so ashamed that I can't think of his name. It's just gone, but probably one of you will think of his name and share it with me. It'll come to me. But Matthew says, expanding the soul, isn't that a great reason for living and for making the decisions we make? Magnanimity comes from two Latin words, magna, which means great, and anima, which means soul. Thus, magnanimity is about having a large soul, not a soul that is puny, the root of pusillanimity. With a magnanimous soul, we are ready to take on the battles of life. We are spiritual warriors. The name has come to me, Maximilian Kolbe, Saint Maximilian Kolbe, the great Franciscan who gave his life in the camps at Auschwitz to let this Jew go free. And the man whom he set free was at his canonization in Rome. Now, isn't that a magnanimous soul? Sorry to digress. Okay, included in that warriorship is going to battle on behalf of social justice, the common welfare, and divine worship. How interesting that Aquinas places improving worship on a par with working for the common good and justice. This should give great affirmation to all those attempting to render ritual in forms that work for postmodern people. And Thomas says, through compassion, human beings imitate God. We find these two things, compassion and justice, in all the works of God. Through compassion, human beings imitate God. We find these two things, compassion and justice, in all the works of God. And Matthew says compassion is our very imitation of God. It is godlike action and godlike being. Aquinas takes seriously the teachings of Jesus that we are to be compassionate like God in heaven is compassionate. This follows an ancient Jewish teaching that compassion is the secret name for God. Isn't that beautiful? That compassion is the secret name for God. There is no better way to demonstrate how God passes through us than carrying out our works of compassion. Further, compassion and justice are everywhere in the universe, says Aquinas. Justice is about balance, about equilibrium, about homeostasis. We find it in our bodies, in our ecosystems, in the movement of planets and stars, and the interaction of the galaxies. Compassion is the living out of our shared interdependence and interconnectivity. These habits and virtues are everywhere present in all the works of God. Are we following in these paths of justice, making, and compassion? And Thomas says, all paths lead to God, for God is on them all evenly for the person who knows with transformed knowledge. And Matthew says, humans often argue, even go to war, over whose path to God is correct. But Eckhart says, slow down, breathe, don't judge. You take your path and let others take their paths. They will all lead to God. What, though, carries us beyond tribalism, beyond egocentricity, which creates those competitive, destructive, my God is better than your God conflicts. How true. Eckhart says transformed knowledge comes with meditation, with learning to let go and let be. We must do some inner work to rid ourselves of outer teachings that preach division and exclusion and competition. And the last quote is from Meister Eckhart. I pray God to rid me of God. I pray God to rid me of God. Eckhart often surprises us with his stark observations, We often make God over into our image, and this is the God Eckhart wants removed. Eckhart often prays to God for forgiveness and help moving beyond human projections of God to the real thing. Have you ever prayed God to rid you of God? Are there human projections you need to let go of? Perhaps of an all-male God, a God of judgment and condemnation, a God that spreads division, class oppression, homophobia, sexism, and excessive nationalism. And there we leave it. And there we leave it for this evening on reading to you the amazing quotes of Thomas Aquinas and the beautiful Meister Eckhart. Let us be still. Let us allow our hearts just reawaken the I am presence of God within us. And let us allow the spirit of the four winds breathe the breath of God upon us. Sit comfortably where you are and allow the amazing reflections we have shared with you pierce your heart. And the words that come to me, compassion is the name of God. Compassion is the secret name of God. Compassion is the secret name of God. I call on the Lord Christ to bless you. I call on the great Thomas Aquinas and all the great Christian mystics to come and escort you now to your place as a pilgrim on a beautiful journey, and that you find your way to that light without coercion, without intimidation, without outdated dogma, but that your journey is devoid of judgment, that you do not sit in judgment on another because of their lifestyle choice or the color of their skin or their disability, which is happening so much today. In parts of the world, Christians are so judgmental and non-loving and expect others to be like them. That is the God that Aquinas is saying we must get rid of. Because God is a God of love, a God who is non-judgmental, a God who is all-embracing and all-encompassing. And if God can embrace you and me as we are, with our disabilities and our vulnerabilities, then why shouldn't He embrace others? Unless, of course, we continue to stigmatize other members of God. So let us now embrace the essence of the meaning of compassionate love. We ask the Spirit of God to breathe the breath of compassionate love that is non-judgmental into our mind, into our heart, and that we now receive the essence of all that there is, the essence of love. And coming to our exit prayer, we say, I am a channel of grace. As I leave my castle, grace surrounds me and grace protects me. I enter my life under the blessing of God, and I remain open to receive guidance from my soul. I ask the Lord Christ to touch your hearts wherever you may be in the world right now, and to fill you with the elixir of life, thus destroying all remnants of fear or guilt or shame, and allow you experience in your heart the true meaning of love, divine love. Thank you for giving up your time to share your gift of self here. Thank you for your gift of presence, for that is a sacrament. It is a benediction, and we share that now with one another as we reach out and cross time zones, countries, in this beautiful universe of love, God's universe of love. Namaste, Shalom. Inshallah paxit bonum om shanti. Solo di caritas. Salam alaikum. And may the peace and the love of your God reawaken in your heart the true meaning of compassion. God bless you. Look forward to your company again soon. Please take care.